for some of you old heads that have been there for a while or know all this, just follow along because I promise you there's always something we can learn. And I give permission to anybody to unmute yourself if you want to add something to this. I'm not perfect. I don't know everything. I don't act like I do. So if someone's got to stop me somewhere, Leo, Philip, Diago, some of you guys, we'll go from there. So this is just a real real simple way to 30,000 foot view of what it looks like to buy a property from A, B, C, D, and so forth and so on. Don't worry, you don't have to take notes. This is something that we can pass along to you guys as well. Diego can email this to everyone who needs it or wants it afterwards. Just put it in the chat if you want it or something, or we'll make this accessible. Diego, we have a library, don't we, for Rat Race where people can look at stuff?
Yeah, so what I'm going to do after this call is I'm going to share this and the one that Andres did as well. We're going to add this on Slack and we're going to add it to the checklist on Teachable.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get started, guys. So when you were first looking for a rental property, you've identified your goal. You know why you want to invest in real estate. That's the most important thing before any of this. It's why do you want to get invested in real estate, right? Everyone has their why. Everyone has a goal. For example, my goal personally is I want the most amount of cash flow for the least amount of rental properties. So what that looks like broken down means that I don't have a finite, is that a word? Finite number of how many real estate properties I want. I just want to be able to make sure I'm home every day by 1 o'clock. So if I can get 1,000 rental properties managed and I can be home by 1 o'clock, then I'm good. But if one property ends up causing me trouble and it's not worth it for me anymore, then that's it. It's not about cash flow. It's not about cash on cash. I remember having a conversation with Diago. I don't know if he remembers, but he was like, Felipe, like, that's not the best way to do it. Like your cash on cash has to be this. And in the back of my mind, I was like, I get what he's saying, but that's not my goal, right? Like my goal is time, period. Like, I don't care what that looks like. I'm going to spend every dollar I got to buy back my financial freedom. So once you've identified your goal, then you can start looking at properties that meet that criteria. So a lot of you guys have heard the BRRRR strategy, line of credit, 1%, cash on cash, all this. I would challenge everyone to make up their own personalized goal. Octavio's goal, Elizabeth's goal, Leo's goal, and do those properties meet those goals, right? Like Diego's goal, like what is it that he wants? And then analyze deals off of that. Now going from there, okay, great. You've got your goal. You know why you're buying what you're buying. Let's get started. The first thing you're going to end up doing in week 1 is you're going to get the property under contract and you're going to put in your documents a 10 to 15 day due diligence period. Diego, can you educate me really quick? Is there any states that require that have a minimum or a maximum of due diligence period when it comes
to so at that point, it really depends in your area, like how competitive it is right now in Austin and it depends per state too. So in Texas, there's an option period. And in the beginning, it used to be 10 days. Now, because of how competitive it is, people are doing 5 days option.
Got it. So for example, I personally wouldn't do that. I would still want my full due diligence period. And that just means that it's going to probably be impossible for me to invest in Austin, right? Just because that doesn't meet my goal. Now, that doesn't mean that it doesn't meet someone else's goal. So this is why I say it's very important to know your why and know your goal, because now that cuts out Texas for me, right? Like that's probably going to be a reason why I don't invest in Austin, just because that doesn't fit into my goals, right? Now, that doesn't mean that that's for everyone. So knowing your goal is going to eliminate a lot of this analysis paralysis, because now you know what you're looking for, right? And you can avoid a lot of these traps. Okay.
And keep in mind, guys, too, that as we're sharing this on week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, this is just an example. If it's like a 30-day closing period from 1 day to like from day 1 of going under contract till 30 days to close. But if it takes 5 weeks or 6 or 3, it all depends on that.
100%. That's exactly right. Yeah. Some states like New York, I think, or some have like longer time. So this is just based on a 31-day closing example. So all right.
And the due diligence period, the due diligence period is the time where you're doing inspections on that property. You're doing whatever you need to do to schedule the inspections, the termite inspections, and all of that stuff. That's what you're doing there.
Exactly.
Due diligence and option period are used hand on hand, so it's about the same thing.
Oh yeah, good. Yep, thank you for that, Andres. Okay, so moving on, due diligence or option, like he said, is the same thing, hand in hand. It can be a little, but it's basically the same thing. In that first week, so this is what's going to happen in week 1. You're gonna get the property under contract. You're gonna sign a 10 to 15 day due diligence period, and the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna send earnest money or what other people call option money as necessary. Customary is 1%, and this is where so Diego's a realtor, so he's a little more formal. I'm a little informal. I'm a negotiating powerhouse, and I'm gonna negotiate every single step of the way. I'm gonna beat down the other realtor and the seller in every way of the way that I can. I'm ruthless in real estate, guys. I love to banter. I love to play, but I'm about my money. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm about mine. And I've realized that at the closing table, everybody want to eat. I'm the only one handing out bagels. So I'm going to be beaten down the whole time. Okay. I'm about my money. So earnest money is negotiable. Okay. You don't have to put 1%. Everything is negotiable. Customary is 1%. If you're in a market like Austin, you might want that you can use this to your advantage by putting down more earnest money. If you're in a market like where I am, you can put less. So it just depends on where you're investing about your earnest money. So even earnest money is negotiable. Realtor fees are negotiable. Everything in real estate is negotiable. I don't care what's on paper. Okay. A lot of times people are like, oh, I got a property and it's selling as is. Guys, I've gotten $20,000 off properties that are sold as is, okay? Because I negotiate everything. Now people are like, oh, well, don't be cheap and all that. That's different. Realtors, for example, I like to pay my realtors good, and I even like to tip. My realtors have been my best friends, but everything is negotiable in a contract, okay? Nothing is not negotiable until that ink dries. Okay, so earnest money is something that you're going to give to solidify the contract that now it's yours, and you can lose that earnest money after the due diligence period that you put in the contract. Okay, so your earnest money is only good as long as what's in the contract. So make sure that when you're buying rental properties, you look at this, because even seasoned investors I've seen mess this up. Okay, it's really easy to put a 1 versus a 10 on there. Okay, so your earnest money is only as good as your due diligence period. And that's typically the only time you can get it back. There's exceptions to that, but typically not. Like I said, you guys don't have to take notes unless you want to. This call is being recorded, and this you're going to get. So yeah. All right. So after you've given your earnest money in that same first week, you're also going to schedule the inspections of the house. This is really important and a step no one should miss. I don't even care if it's a new build. I don't care if it's a brand new build house. You pay for that $500 for inspection, because to me, that's one of the biggest negotiating powers you have. And I'll explain why later. Make sure you get your inspection on the house. I don't care if it's a new build, old, whatever, you get it done. Right after that, you're going to schedule the termite inspection. It says if necessary, it's always necessary. Get your termite inspection done, because that's all. Everything I do in real estate is to negotiate, and part of this is that, and I'll explain it why later. Schedule pertinent inspections based on I don't know what that is, SD. Then schedule specific.
Yeah, so that will be the seller's disclosure. So if there's certain things in this, if there's certain things in the seller's disclosure, like, hey, there's the house has had foundation issues, then you will take a foundation company to go out there and check it out.
Exactly, 100%. And thanks, Andres and Diego, for handling the chat. I can't see it because
of course, got it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What about shopping for lenders?
Yes. So this is when you're under contract, but shopping for lenders and all that stuff, you can totally do that. Especially up to the point, I would say you can shop for lenders up to the point that you're past the due diligence, depending on, because you want to order the appraisal right after the due diligence period.
Yeah, absolutely. With that
I had a situation where a client decided to go with another lender after the appraisal, and that pushed our closing like twice, and we closed instead of the original date like 20 days later. Oof. So it's important to have a badass realtor or have badass lenders that set the right expectations, and also have lender contacts so that you can contact them.
Yeah, that's why I do lender shopping right in the first week.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So normally what I do is I choose 2, and I say, hey guys, so this is my property under contract. So tell me what can you do?
Great. I love that. That's a great thing. We totally missed that. Tiago, thank you for that. So
Yeah.
lender shopping, make sure you have your lending in place, and you can put like, just if you have someone in place doesn't mean you can't be shopping for someone else to get a better rate. So great job, Tiago. Totally missed that one. You can shop for lenders. Everything is negotiable. Okay. I love that. Sorry about that, Tiago. You're absolutely right. All right. So that's your first week of real estate. Good job. You've gotten all these things scheduled. Put them in your calendar. Okay. Insurance, lenders, inspections, earnest money, the whole bit. Okay. Here's a quick tip. Jesus Christ. Make sure your realtor puts the earnest money where it needs to be. Okay. And the way I do that is I send a screen. So I send in my earnest money, and then I take a picture of the earnest money and I send it to my realtor so that person knows that I've sent it in, the whole bit. Okay. So don't lose a contract because someone misplaced your earnest money's check or whatever. Okay. Keep receipts, take pictures, start a folder. Okay.
Yeah. And guys, too, really quick on the Teachable platform, for everybody here, just in case you may have missed it or you didn't know, there's a page where I give you all of the questions that you need to ask the lenders. So when you're shopping for lenders, ask them all of those questions. Highly recommend them.
And
100%.
also one thing for people, whenever they hear shopping for lenders, whenever you get your credit pulled by a lender, you have 1 month to shop around for lenders, and that credit pool will only count as one, as opposed to each time that you shop in for a lender. So once you get that first credit pool, you can shop for a whole month.
Awesome. That's great. 100%.
I got a quick question about that. So like, I know that there'd be some realtors that they don't even like to show you houses or work with you if you don't even have a pre-approval letter. So how would that work in terms of like, if you're showing me a house, let's say Diego, you're showing me houses already, but then I'm now starting to look for lenders. Would you have been working with me already if that was the case, or no?
So usually what I would recommend, and this is exactly how I say it as a realtor, I would highly recommend, or I basically say the first step in wanting to buy a home is to get qualified with a lender so that you can see how much you can afford. We're going to get you qualified, get you a pre-approval letter, but you can always shop around until we are under contract and during the option period. Because I don't know how much you can afford. So I can show you $400,000 homes, and then all of a sudden you get pre-approved for 300, and then we just wasted your time. So the way that I say it is, hey, to value your time as the buyer is we need to get you a pre-approval letter. You can still shop around.
It's also in your best interest, if you want to submit an offer, no offer is going to be considered without a pre-approval letter. So that pre-approval letter can take 1-2 days. So it's in your best interest to have that pre-approval letter to pull the trigger right away.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much I have a base for that I have something saying that, all right, I'm pre-approved, but I'm not going to be sticking with that lender. I'm just going to go shopping around afterwards, that I have show face that, all right, look, I have this letter saying that I'm pre-approved. Then you're okay with that. And then I can just go shopping afterwards then, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I have another question about that, because when I shopped around for my fourplex, it did show when I shopped around, like it showed like 3 or 4 times. And I did it on the same, like in the same 2 weeks.
So it does show, but it doesn't count against you.
It doesn't pull your credit.
As a hard pull. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Soft pull.
Yeah.
So what they do is they usually consolidate all those credit pulls into one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I don't know if I could add something, but last year when I got the properties, I run my credit 4 times in 3 different states to get the pre-approval, and then started shopping around, and it didn't hurt my credit at all.
Good job. Perfect.
I mean, some few points, but it's not gonna drop from 600 to 300. Like, no.
Great work.
I have a question too, regarding the lenders. If you do one deal 1 month and they pull your credit, and then you try to do another deal a month and a half later, are they going to re-pull your credit, or like if you're with the same lender, or if you shop around and go with a different lender, I'm assuming they're going to pull your credit again. And will that affect you if you are doing, say, a deal every 2 months or month and a half or so?
I'm going to say it's going to be up to the lender that whether they want to pull again or not. My lender doesn't, but my previous bank did. So I know that's not the answer you want to hear, but I would probably just call and ask, like, hey, I just got my credit pulled last month. can you check that?
Yeah.
They'll decide.
Yeah.
So I guess,
just know,
too, because I mean, I understand maybe like, is it best to like, are you guys shopping around for a lender and then sticking with that lender for all or the majority of your deals? Or are you guys shopping around for a lender like for each deal? I guess it's
Whoever
more
gives me the best rate. Shit, I ain't loyal to no one. No, I'm
yeah. I mean, in the,
That's
it
fair
really
enough.
depends on the kinds of deals, right? Like, and it also depends on how complicated your file is. There's been, I've bought multiple homes in Tennessee, and I've used like 2 or 3 different lenders depending on the situation. But if you have a complicated deal, building on that relationship with that lender can take you so many different places. And Felipe, what are you looking at? And Felipe is sharing his screen over here while I'm talking. Yeah, it's really important. And I'll share this from personal experience, right? There is power in being like, hey, Diego, I just need these like the bank statements, and that's all I need. I already have your taxes. I already have all of this. I just need your last 2 bank statements, and we can get you qualified for your next property. Somebody that understands your situation, especially if you're investing in different strategies and all this other stuff. There's definitely things that one lender can do that other lenders may not miss, but they may not see it the right way.
I also would like to add something. I'm a banker.
Oh, cool.
And I could, more than hurting my credit or not, is creating the relationship. And it sounds again and again with every time that we say it, but if you already got one property with me, I'm for sure I'm going to run your credit. But if you go 2, 3, 4, and I know how your credit goes, how your loan to value and depends, I might get exceptions. So
you say
every lender, every bank has the opportunity to jump that credit, but no more for than 60 days, at least in the place where I work.
All right. So week 2 comes around Monday morning, bang, bang, bang. Let's get started. You're going to get your inspection report back, Lord willing, within 24 hours. Most inspectors can do 24, 48. I would be really upset if it took more than 2 days to get my report back. You're going to get your inspection report back, and you're going to start evaluating. So what I do, this is a little quick tip here. I send out my contractor with the list. So I went and saw the property. My home inspector went, and let's say that I'm in my 2nd week. So now it's the 6th day, that Monday. I asked my contractor to meet me out at the property with the inspection report. And I tell them, hey, let's go through this real quick. What does it look like? What do we need to do to get this place? Fill in the blank. If I'm going to flip it, what would that look like? If I'm going to rent it, how much is it going to cost me to get it rent ready? If I'm going to, whatever I'm going to do to it, I'm going to take my contractor out. If I'm going to flip the downstairs into basement into living space, what is that going to look like? Now I have an inspection report to validate what he's going to tell me. So now I have, my T's crossed and my I's dotted. And based on that number, I'm going to go back and start the negotiations based on inspection and contractor's report. Remember, it is, to me, and anyone else can chime in here, it is more important for me to get the fish on the hook and start pulling than to start pulling and try to get a fish on a hook. Okay. What that means is my negotiations don't start until this right here. Okay. My negotiations for the price of the property don't start until right here, because now I got the fish on the hook. Make sense?
Hey, Felipe, when you say you bring your contractor, how did you find a contractor? Is it somebody who does different house jobs? Like, is it a plumber? Is it a guy who does roof?
Yeah, good question. So since I've been in the game for a while now I bring out my subs. So I bring my plumber, Senaido, my painter, Victor. I bring out my framer, Chicho. I bring out my subs, right? Octavio laughed at Chicho. He's my uncle. His name is Narciso. We call him Chicho. But so when I started, yes, I would just hire a contractor for the day, pay him $100 and say, hey, can I give you $100 for a day or for a couple hours to come look at a property? Trust me, it's worth it. Now I have a basis for my inspection. So now with those bids from my contractors or my subs, in my case, I now send that back to Diego. Right. I'm going to use Diego as my realtor in this situation. Okay. So now I'm going to go back to Diego. Hey, Diego, I just had my contractor go out. This is what it's going to cost me to get these things fixed. Can you please go back to the seller and let him know that I want these things fixed prior to closing, or money off of the money that I got to bring to the table for closing costs. So now you have to bring less money to the table. And then the rest of it towards the loan or towards the purchase price, or if there's not, then just off the closing. So now you have to bring less physical cash to the table. Make sense? All right. So Diego then goes back to the seller and tells the seller, like, hey, Felipe found these things, but here's the even contractor bid. Like, now there's some weight to it. Contractor bids, all that. While that's going on, I'm starting to call insurance companies to see what my policy is going to be based on the property's fill in the blank, address, condition, all that stuff. I'm starting to look for insurance companies. So I'm starting to shop my insurance companies. Okay. Start from the top, move my way down, and just send that information out to a bunch of them in one email. You can send it to everyone, just blind carbon copy. It's what I do. BCC, everybody. All right. This is where once you
I had a quick question on that, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I don't hear much talk about insurance companies.
Sure.
What is it that you look for them? Can you expand a little bit on it?
Okay, absolutely. So what I look for in an insurance company is who's going to give me the best policy based on it being a rental property, not the cheapest, but the best policy. Based on here. And I give examples. I'm like, hey, what happens if this place catches on fire because the tenant had a heater running 24 hours? What happens in that situation? Talk to them, right? This is the process, this. Okay, great. Are you giving me like kind items back? Are you giving me my money back on the items? Are you giving me kind items? So, okay, these are keywords. Like kind on your losses is so if I have, this is the like kind. If I have a 50-inch flat screen TV and the fire burns it up and I have a Sony or something expensive, are you going to give me like kind or face value? If they say like kind, I'm probably going to argue about that wording and see if I can get it said differently. Like kind would mean a 50-inch Walmart special that they could afford, right? Versus my TV. Now, if they say face value, then they're going to give me 80% of purchase price of that item based on the ID number on the back. I'm going to give you a quick tip that I don't know where else I would have done this, but everyone needs to know this because I'm sure even the old heads didn't know this, because I've wanted to talk about this before, and I think Diego knew about that too. About 6 months, not 6 months ago, that's a lie. God, how long ago was that? Jesus, almost 3 years now. That's ridiculous. I had a rental property, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second so we can talk about this. So about 3 years ago, I had a rental property that got vandalized. So thanks for bringing up the insurance question. And it was about $60,000 in damages. The insurance company came in, and this is why I'm so fluent in this stuff now. They came in, and like the moment they came in, they started throwing everything out. Throwing all the trash, the house that got smoked, my couches, my furniture, my TVs, everything just in the dumpster. And I was like, oh, great. Insurance company is moving fast. Holy crap. This is fantastic. As soon as the house was empty, everything stopped. Skirt to a halt. And I was like, you guys gonna fix my house? What's going on? And they're like, nope, we're going to put you in special investigation. We think you burned your own house. I was like, what? What's going on? And they're like, we think you did it to yourself because I don't know, whatever. Yeah, at the end of the day, exactly, Sebastian. And then they asked me for my bank account and they were like, just kidding, you're fine. I was super upset. Guys, beyond a shadow of a doubt. This is where it gets crazy. This is what I would challenge every single one of you to do. Go to your rental properties, go to your houses like tomorrow. Open up a Gmail account for your stuff and go take pictures minimum of the rooms and what's in it. Because for us, they were trying to give us like $500 for my wife's $5,000 wedding dress. They were trying to give us like $1,500 for our $5,000 flat screen. They were trying to give us, they were trying to really give us very, very little amounts of money, because where was the proof that I had that? They just threw it out the window the other day. So I didn't have any proof that I had anything in my house. Yo, just like that. They were like, So how many TVs did you have? Oh, I had 3. Oh, really? What kind? Hell, I don't know. 3 big A flat screens, Sony's. And they're like, okay, do you have any proof that you have those? No, you threw it out the door. Oh, okay, well, we're just going to buy you a 50-inch flat screen from Walmart. And I was like, excuse me? So if you're an investor, if you own a house, your ears need to be perking up, because they were trying to get me the lowest of the cheapest of the everything, and I had nothing to fight back with.
Felipe,
Yep.
hey, let me add something to the insurance story you told. I had a similar situation, and insurance companies really make it difficult. They want people to get frustrated, and then you just give up. You got to keep on them. I went as far as asking, okay, send me a copy of my policy, because they were trying to tell me that there was certain verbiage they were using. I said, okay, send me the policy where it says that. And then I actually had to ask to speak to a supervisor. Once I did that, and I said, hey, I highlighted the verbiage they quoted, but it said, it didn't say that it did not cover the damage I was trying to claim.
So then you're going to get to your rerunning your numbers. At this point, you're going to stop and you're going to see, is the property still worth it? Because you are still in your due diligence time. Based on inspection, based on termite inspection, based on insurance, and now you have really solid numbers. Start rerunning your numbers. Is the deal worth it? This is the point where you got to take emotions out of it. You got to be willing to let go of the property if it's not worth it. So this is around the time where you're going to decide to pull out or stay in the deal. If you're going to decide to continue, you're going to send your documents to the lender, order an appraisal. The lender orders this. It has to be a third-party company with no affiliation to anyone. This is still during your due diligence time, and most contracts are based on inspection and appraisal or funding. Okay. So make sure your realtor has that in the contract, because that is your exit strategy if the deal does not make sense. From there, you're going to call the local contractor, ask them to run rate or calendar date. So it's a run rate or calendar date. Basically, is you're asking when can they get started, if negotiations went according to what you want, and if they are if the numbers are still working for you. This is the point where you call back those contractors and say, hey, I think I'm going to go through with the deal. What's your run rate after closing? Or when can I get on your, let me just say this, when can I get on your calendar after closing? After you get that, you then call your local property managers. If you're going to have a property manager, this is where you call the local property manager and you start that process of if you're going to have somebody manage the property for you, or are you going to do that? Guys, from experience, let a property management manager, especially if it's out of the state. If it's in state and it's in your backyard and you want to try it out, great. But guys, start building those management property relationships. They are key. We are now going on to week 3. We are going to now you've made the decision to, let's say, move forward. Now you're going to re-sign contracts based on negotiations. Make sure that those contracts are to your liking. Ask your realtor to double check, and just to make sure that everyone's on the same page based on negotiations of insurance and inspections and all that. So at this point, I usually end up picking the insurance company and start date, day of closing, and then it should be a smooth transition there. Just ask the insurance company, and not, since I've made my decision last week, now I move forward. From there, pick closing date and then insurance at the same time. So now you talk to your realtor, you got your closing date, you're good to go. The next thing I do is I call the utility companies and I schedule a start date on closing day. So I don't want any lapse in water bill, light bill, none of that. I'll call the utilities and I schedule it to start on the day of closing for the property. This is something really simple that you can forget. I'm not kidding. I had a business partner who forgot to turn on the gas for the house. So the AC wasn't working and I was freaking out. And I was like, did you turn on the gas? He's like, oh my God, I forgot to call a utility company. So call the utility companies and make sure you have a start date. Create the bank account that's going to manage the funds for the property. A lot of people don't do this. I would challenge anyone, if you're going to get a rental property, keep it away from your personal financials. Open a bank account per house that you're going to get, or a bank account strictly for rental properties. You can do online banks like Ally or whatever. Super simple. You give that information to your property manager. Bang, bang, bang. You've now created the bank account. You get that bank account information over to your property manager for rent deposits, and you start running funds through that account. You do not mix accounts. You don't mix funds. You don't pierce that corporate veil. You keep that bank account separate for that. property. Okay.
So sorry, do you mind if I just ask a quick question, Felipe? So just clarifying, like if you have 20 properties, you have 20 different bank accounts?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
So you're just doing like one rental?
You have a
bank
rental
account?
Yeah. So like, for example, this is going to be a great CPA question. So go back and watch a video from Anna Klein, our in-house CPA that helps us out. For example, I have all my cash flow running through one bank account. That's an LLC that then pays the property management company that I also own that manages my properties. And then I get paid out as an employee of that company. So, but I do have a specific bank account for all cash flow.
Okay.
Yeah, but don't overcomplicate it. What I would recommend is when you buy a property, create, even if it's a separate bank account with your same, like if you bank at Bank of America, ask them to create a bank account for it, for that property, or for your real estate at the end of the day. And that way you can put any expense is going to be on that. The money coming in, money coming out, all of that stuff. So that at the end of the year, you can give the statements, or you can plug in all of that into a spreadsheet or QuickBooks, whatever, and give that to your CPA.
I then use this inspection report as a basis for the contractor. So I hand them the inspection report and say, hey, these are the things we talked about. This is based on inspection. Can you please fix them? And then you can decide on what contractor you're going to use, call them, make sure you're still on schedule, ready to rock and roll. So at this point, I know that I'm going to use A property manager or B property manager. And if I'm doing self-managing, this is the point where I'm already putting it on Facebook, Zillow, all that. And hey, property coming soon for rent. I'm going to start getting those leads.
For week 4, what's going to happen, guys, as if you're buying a home with a loan, the 3 days before closing, the lender is going to send you a document called a closing disclosure. That's the amount that's going to be in the closing disclosure, is going to be the cash to close, that it's going to be super close for the day of closing. On the day of closing, of course, you're going to confirm the cash to close with the lender and the title company. I would recommend doing that the day before or 2 days if it's already all clear to close already. Then that same day or the day before, again, of course, you send the wire to the title company, or you get the cashier's check. And then that same day or the day before, again, you do the final walkthrough. This is where if you did negotiate anything, any repairs, you make sure that they were done, that they were complete. And you also do what I said earlier, throw away the ice that's in the freezer if the home is going to be empty when you do get it. If there's a lease back or there's a tenant there already, you don't have to do that. It's more if the home is empty. And then that's when we confirm the repairs that they've been negotiated. Then we go to closing. It's going to be around an hour probably. And once the money, like your money plus the lender's money, if you're getting a loan, once it hits the title company, and that's when you fund, and that's when you get keys.